We're going to learn about the concepts of domain and range. So here's what these words mean. Domain means all the x values, and range means all the y values. Okay, now where do we find these? So remember, the x values are always found along the x-axis, right? And in a coordinate point like this, they're always found right here. Okay, y values on a graph, they're found along the y-axis, and in a coordinate point, right, they're found here in this second spot, right? This is always, it's always x, comma y, x, comma y, right? This is the x-axis. Oops, that's an x. This is the y-axis. Okay, so when we're talking about the x values and the y values, where do we find these things? Well, we can find them on a graph, we can find them in a point. Okay, now there's two rules that when we list out these x values and these y values, we list them in order from least to greatest. And here's the thing, we list it with no repeats. That's just the rule. So if we have a domain and range, and let's say we have an x value of 4, and then somewhere else we have an x value of 4, we just list it once, okay? Because we're just saying, okay, well, these are all the values that x could be. All right, so for example, let's take a look at this first set of points, and we can see that we have first domain, and watch what we do. We make this funny little bracket. It's like parentheses, but with a little point on it. Okay, so I make that funny bracket. Now I'm looking for the domain. So look, domain, it's all the x values. So it's all these guys, right? It's all those first numbers. So there are my x values. That's the domain right there, those 4 numbers. I'm going to list them in order from least to greatest with no repeats. So which number is the least here? -5. Okay, look, there's 2 negatives. The like bigger a negative number is, right, it's actually smaller, right? This is like I owe someone $5. This is I owe someone $2. I have less money over here. Okay, so -5 is first. And what I can do is I can like put a little x to make sure I, got it and I don't miss it. -2 is next. Okay, now next, right, so the negative numbers are smallest, then comes 0, and then comes a positive. And then I close my funny little pointy brackets, and that's the domain. Let's do the range. Okay, the range, I'm going to double underline this one, is these guys. So it's 7, 4, 4, and 3. I'm going to list them in order from least to greatest with no repeats. So funny little brackets. My least number is 3. I also have a 4. I have 2 of them, but I don't list repeats, so I'm just going to list it once. And I have a 7. And I close my funny little pointy brackets. Okay, so that's it. That's domain and range. Let's try this one. Now here on a graph, notice what I could do is I could take these points and I could be like, okay, well, this point is -2, 1, and this point is -1, -2, and this point is 2, 1, and I could literally do exactly what I just did. Okay, so I could do that. That's an option. I can also actually just get this information right off the graph. So like if I'm looking for domain, right, if I'm looking for domain, I'm looking for the x values. So what I would do, since I want them from least to greatest, I would think like, okay, well, my x values go from least to greatest, right, from left to right. Like these are the smallest x values over here, and then my x values get bigger and bigger. So I would just like literally do this. I would start on the left. I would see like, okay, what points do I have? What points do I have? Oh, there's one right here. Okay, what's the x value? So remember, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the x-axis because that's where I find the x value. So like my x value is here. So that would be -2. And I would keep going, keep going, keep going. Right, I'm going left to right. Oh, I see another point. What's the x value here? The x value of this point is -1. And then keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, I see another point, and the x value of this point is 2. Okay, so that would be my domain. Now notice if I had just used these points, I would have gotten the same answer. Okay, now the range is the y value of each of these points. Okay, I'm going to double underline. So the range, remember I want to list from least to greatest, so it makes sense for me to just kind of look from least to greatest. And in the case of range, that would start at the bottom, right? The smallest y values are down here at the bottom, and then they get up from here. So I'm going to kind of start at the bottom, and I'm going to kind of look and say, okay, where do I have a point? Oh, I have a point right here. Okay, what's the y value of this point? Well, the y value, I'm looking at the y-axis, so that's here. Like the y value is here, right? So the y value is -2. Okay, notice I made a double line, and I made a double line here on range, so you can kind of see it. Okay, and I go up and I go up and I'm looking for more points, and I see, oh, I actually have 2 points right here, okay? And they both have a y value of 1. Now remember, I don't list repeats, so I'm just gonna list it once, and I'm done. And again, notice that I would have gotten the same answer had I looked here, right? A -2 and a 1, all right? And that's it, that's domain and range.